Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking something absolutely huge. We're looking at the core philosophy of Derace M. Moore, the creator of this incredible system called presidential mindedness. And look, this isn't your standard surface-level motivational stuff. No way. We're going to decode what Moore calls the architecture of mental wealth. It's a total paradigm shift. It takes you from just barely surviving your circumstances to intentionally leading your life. So, get ready, because we're breaking down exactly how you transition from living on autopilot to operating as the actual founder of your own future. Let's get into it.
Are you introducing yourself through your wounds or your value? Honestly, we do this all the time, don't we? Think about it. I'm broken. I'm my past. I'm a failure. We just slap these labels on ourselves and literally let our past pain define our entire identity. And what happens? We completely ignore our actual potential. We let our survival mechanisms speak for us before our true selves even get a chance to enter the room. But what if we just stopped doing that?
Okay, let's dive right into this with Section 1, the survival trap, moving beyond the drought of direction. So, to figure out how to really lead our lives, we first got to understand what's holding us back. Moore points out something super interesting here. He says many brilliantly talented communities aren't actually lacking in raw genius. They're suffering from a drought of direction. And, when there's a drought of direction in your life, you just naturally default to a survival identity. You grab onto whatever gives you a quick sense of significance. You're just consuming quick dopamine hits, literally just to feel okay for an hour or maybe a day. But in an intentional identity, that's about stopping that exhausting cycle dead in its tracks. It's realizing that, sure, your environment might have buried your true identity, but it absolutely did not destroy it. Reconnecting with that authentic, buried value, that's where the real transformation kicks in.
Moving on to Section 2, the jewel holder, reclaiming your hidden value.
Here's the thing. Long before you ever lose your discipline or your focus, you lose your sense of value. You literally start believing you aren't worth the effort. Moore's concept of the jewel holder is designed to psychologically restore that lost sense of self-worth. And I want you to really truly hear this. A diamond buried underground does not lose its value because nobody recognizes it yet. I mean, wow. Your inherent worth exists way before you ever get any public validation. A jewel possesses value before it's ever discovered. So if your environment buried your identity in fear, trauma, or just survival habits, it did not erase your worth. The diamond is still there.
Now, we've got to make a really important distinction here. Recognizing that you are a jewel holder with a unique genius is not about arrogance. Ego seeks superiority. Ego walks in and says, hey, I'm better than everyone else, which, let's be honest, is completely exhausting to maintain anyway. Value, on the other hand, creates responsibility. When you truly recognize your own value, you realize you actually have a responsibility to protect it, to invest in it, and to develop it. Next up is Section 3, the interview and IPO, the CEO of your life.
This realization of responsibility forces a pretty major shift. See, you cannot be the CEO of your external world until you learn to govern your internal world, your habits, your focus, your emotional regulation. That's your internal company. If the leadership inside your own mind is weak, well, the chaos is inevitably going to spread to your outer life. And that brings us to the ultimate test. The greatest interview you will ever face is the one between who you are and who you are becoming. This isn't a sit-down job interview. It's that honest, unavoidable evaluation in the mirror. Are your daily habits actually aligned with the future you keep saying you want?
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how Moore brilliantly flips traditional business terms into psychological milestones. We all know a traditional IPO is when a business goes public, right? But in the presidential mindedness framework, which is often called PMK, an IPO is an internal public offering. It's the exact moment you achieve founder's approval. It's that incredible moment when the highest, most intentional version of yourself looks at your daily habits and says, yes, I can trust you to lead our life.
And getting that founder's approval relies on one absolutely crucial difference: image versus integrity. Modern culture heavily rewards image, what people see you doing, how you perform for the crowd. But true internal alignment, real confidence, is built entirely on integrity. It's who you are consistently in private, when no one is watching, when the applause completely fades. Repeated, private integrity. That is literally the only way to rebuild trust with yourself.
All right, Section 4, Architecture of Mental Wealth, from Theory to System.
So, okay, we've got the philosophy down, but how do we actually build the thing? Moore calls this architecture a luxury brand of common sense, and the absolute core of it is mental wealth. It's defined as an emotional competence in alignment with an economic consciousness. Basically, you have to treat your mind exactly like an economy. If you spend your attention, which is your primary currency by the way, on negativity, distractions, and survival habits, it's basically psychological inflation. Your internal economy goes totally bankrupt.
And this brilliantly illustrates how you build that internal economy. It's the mental wealth equation. I plus I equals I. Investment plus interest equals independence. You invest knowledge, discipline, and time right into your own mind. That's your principle. Over time, that investment grows and pays you massive interest in the form of compounded growth, wisdom, and new opportunities. And the ultimate return on that compounded mental interest? True independence. We're talking financial, mental, and generational freedom.
But listen, to actually get that return, you need structure. As you can see here, there is a distinct pipeline from potential to performance. Potential is really just raw talent and ideas. And talent alone, without any structure, usually just self-destructs. The magic doesn't happen up in the clouds of potential. It happens right down on the road of focus, faith, discipline, consistency, commitment, and execution. And that path leads directly to the ultimate destination of performance and legacy.
Let's move to and see how this builds sequentially through a 5-step presidential transformation process. Step 1 is awareness, really seeing your potential. Step 2 is alignment, getting your mind, your goals, and your values all on the exact same page. Step 3 is action, taking strategic, consistent steps forward. Step 4 is advancement, which is all about building momentum. And finally, Step 5 is performance, living at your absolute highest level every single day. It's basically a structured staircase right out of survival mode.
And you know, as you move up that staircase, your whole energy changes. People talk about vibes all the time, right? But Moore redefines it. Vibe stands for the voice of internal beliefs and expertise. People instinctively feel your internal conditioning long before you ever speak a single word. If you're operating from a place of fear, people feel it instantly. But if you're grounded in intentionality and mental wealth, your vibe communicates that safety and structure right away.
So, how do you upgrade your vibe? You have to challenge your old programming, and you do that through ASK, which stands for Advanced Solutions of Knowledge. This is all about using intentional questioning to completely interrupt your unconscious conditioning. Instead of just assuming you know why you react a certain way, you ask, you investigate it. You shift from making lazy assumptions to finding true understanding. Questions literally create the freedom to redesign your entire identity.
Bringing us to Section 5, Becoming the Plug, from consumer to contributor.
Once you've built up that internal economy, found your true value, and aligned your habits, you have to evolve from just being a consumer to being a contributor. You got to take everything you've built and serve your community. Moore radically flips a really common street term here. Traditionally, the plug is someone with temporary access to money, status, or resources just for survival. But the PMK plug, the presidential plug, that's about being the person who actually provides access to psychological awareness, developmental language, and structured systems for real, lasting transformation.
So PLUG actually stands for Provides Lessons of Unique Genius, because the absolute highest level of personal growth isn't just about your own personal success. No way. It's about becoming a living, breathing example. It's about becoming the actual bridge that transfers wisdom, structure, and hope directly to the next generation. And here is exactly what healed leaders inject right back into their environments. The new PLUG provides awareness, they provide structure to raw talent, guidance during those brutal droughts, lived leadership, reconnection to identity, and ultimately, they provide mental wealth. I love this quote. The world taught people to chase the plug for survival. Presidential mindedness teaches people how to become the plug for transformation. That is the ultimate economic responsibility of mental wealth. It's about circulating leadership and wisdom instead of just hoarding all your personal success. So the crucial point is this. Mental wealth is absolutely not an accident. It is the ultimate luxury, and it is built entirely through intentionality. It's all about protecting your thoughts, aligning your actions, honoring your unique genius, and leading by example. That's what it means to truly keep it presidential. I'm going to leave you with one stark question to ask the mirror today. Can you trust yourself with the life you say you want? Seriously, think about your habits. Think about your daily investments. Are you building that trust? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep building, keep investing, and I'll catch you next time.